Chosen one, the most dangerous mistake your enemies make is believing they are only dealing with flesh when they rise against you, when in truth they are placing their hands on a living covenant, touching a life that heaven itself has marked, sealed, and surrounded with unseen fire, because there is a holy difference upon you that even those who dislike you can feel before they can explain it. The atmosphere shifts when you enter a room, conversations subtly rearrange. Eyes follow you without knowing why, and even in your silence there is a weight, a presence, a frequency that does not belong to this world, a quiet certainty that walks with you through places where other souls collapse. And this chosen one is what makes attacking you a spiritual hazard. You have carried storms that would have shattered ordinary minds, seasons where the ground beneath your feet was breaking, where betrayal pierced you, where loss tried to swallow you whole, and yet you did not dissolve into bitterness or insanity. Instead, you emerged refined, like gold that has been through the furnace, stronger in ways the human eye cannot calculate. Your spirit tempered, your discernment sharpened, your heart still miraculously capable of love. Your scars are not decorations of defeat, they are holy. Inscriptions, lines of living scripture written on your body and soul, each one a record of nights you cried into your pillow while heaven stood guard over your breath. Each one a testimony that what came to kill you was forced to become fertilizer for your awakening. This is why there is a kind of peace that follows you that confuses those who watch your life from the outside. They see the pressure, they see the losses, they see the unfairness, and yet they also see you standing, perhaps with tears in your eyes, but with a spine that refuses to bow to the darkness that has stalked you for years. They misinterpret this peace as naivety or stubbornness, but it is something far older and holier. It is the residue of the one who walks with you, the imprint of the presence that sits with you in empty rooms and fills your silence with strength. You do not fight for attention because you were never built for stages of shallow applause. There is an inner brightness within you, a lamp that the world did not light and therefore cannot extinguish. And wherever you go, that light agitates lies, exposes hidden motives, and disrupts comfortable illusions. This is why, chosen one, your very existence becomes a threat to those who thrive in deception. The light you carry is not performance, it is exposure, and people who serve the shadows instinctively resist anything that reveals what they have carefully concealed. Being chosen, however, is not a romantic crown. It is a cross carved into your journey, a weight on your destiny, a calling that has cost you more than most people will ever understand. Those who sit at a distance and envy the favor on your life have no idea how much fire that favor dragged you through. How many times heaven said not yet when you thought you were ready? How many times God protected you by allowing you to be misunderstood, rejected, or pushed out of places that would have poisoned you long term? You know what it is like to love people who later used information about your pain as weapons against you, to feed mouths that later gossiped about you, to sit at tables where you genuinely wished everyone well, only to find out later that some of them were secretly threatened by your authenticity, your resilience, or the quiet authority you carried without trying. The chosen are often betrayed by those who share their bread, wounded by those they defended, and criticized by those they served. And yet you are asked again and again to lay your desire for vengeance at the feet of the one who sees everything. This is where the mystery of your protection begins. Chosen one, while you stand weeping in a room where no one sees, the lion of your lineage is already awake, already pacing, already measuring the intentions of those who lifted their hand or their tongue against you. People imagine that when they slander you in secret, when they assassinate your character in private conversations, when they twist narratives to make you look like the problem, that the only ears listening are human. They forget that every word spoken against a chosen soul has to pass through the court of heaven, and heaven is meticulous with its records. When someone crosses a chosen one, they are not merely crossing a human boundary. They are stepping into consecrated territory, walking into ground marked belongs to God, without realizing that such ground is guarded the way a lion guards its cubs, patiently, at first silently watching, but fully prepared to unleash terrifying power at the appointed time. To touch you, chosen one, is to reach for what belongs to the Most High. To mishandle what has been stamped with His name and the spiritual law attached to that action is not sentimental, it is exact. God does not shrug when you are mistreated. He does not roll His eyes when you are lied about. He does not turn away when you are strategically excluded, sabotaged, or pushed aside. Even in the seasons where it felt like heaven was silent, when you sat alone with red eyes and a trembling heart, asking why you had to be the one who kept forgiving, kept releasing, kept staying quiet. The machinery of divine justice was already in motion, slow by human standards, but perfectly synchronized with eternal timing. In the invisible realm, the moment hostility is aimed at you, angels shift position, watchmen tighten their focus, and the gaze of the Ancient of Days weighs motives, measures seeds, and calculates returns. This is the terrifying side of favor that your enemies do not understand. From the outside, it may look like those who wronged you are winning. They climb ladders built on deceit, occupy positions. They manipulated their way into sit-in rooms, bragging about how they handled or outsmarted you. And for a time, their lives may look smoother, brighter, more successful than yours. But understand this deeply chosen one in heaven's ledger, the moment they chose to harm what God has claimed their so-called victory, began dying the same day it was born. Justice in the spiritual realm does not always announce itself early. It writes quietly, adjusts circumstances beneath the surface, allows pride to inflate so that the fall will reveal the truth with undeniable clarity. While you think nothing is happening, the scales are already tipping the verdict, already forming the path of their own seeds, curling back toward them like a boomerang they thought they had thrown away from themselves. God's defense over you is not half-hearted. It is the same will that spoke galaxies into existence, now standing between you and what was meant to consume you. The hands that molded mountains, that carved out oceans, are the hands that silently pushed certain disasters away from your door, that blocked messages you were never meant to see, that closed doors you cried over, but that would have become cages had they opened. The voice that said, "Let there be light," is the same voice that quietly says, "Enough," over those who have persistently chosen to be instruments of darkness in your story. This is not about revenge. It is about order, about alignment, about the reality that a God who calls you his own will not sit back and watch you be destroyed by those who delight in harm. You are not protected because you are perfect, chosen one. You are protected because you are claimed. You are covered not because you always got it right, but because you surrendered your journey into hands that are incapable of abandoning what they have chosen. The shield around you is less about your performance and more about the assignment stitched into your being. You are a carrier of purpose, a vessel of something heaven intends to release into the earth, and that is why your battle is never just personal. It is always prophetic. When someone schemes in hidden chats, in group conversations, where you are not present, when they attempt to pull strings to push you out, block your progress, stain your name, or strip you of what was meant for you, they are not just opposing your personality. They are stepping into collision with the script God wrote over your life before you ever took your first breath. And in that realm, the battle ceases to be yours. It becomes his. When God fights, he does not require your hands only. Your agreement to remain in alignment, your willingness to resist the urge to lower yourself into the mud where your enemies roll comfortably. No army can march against a decree God has already signed. No weapon can pierce armor forged in the fires of covenant. No strategy crafted in ego can outmaneuver wisdom that sits outside of time. This is why, chosen one. Your task is not to chase every rumor, clap back at every attack, or desperately prove your innocence to those who have already decided to misread you. Your task is to stay in position to keep your heart clean enough that heaven's vindication over your life cannot be blocked by your own bitterness. And let this settle deep into you now. Your presence here listening to these words is not accidental background noise. It is a sign that your soul carries immense merit, that your vibration, your frequency, your inner light has reached a point where heaven is pouring fresh revelation over you because you are ready to hold more. The fact that you are drawn to this moment, that something in you recognizes this language, is proof that you are not ordinary. It is confirmation that you are already walking in the energy of the chosen. If you feel your spirit agreeing, if you can sense that this is speaking directly into the chapters you never told anyone, Then, Chosen One, anchor this energy, seal this revelation, and declare your alignment by commenting 777 or I am ready, so that in the unseen realm it is recorded that on this day your soul said yes to being fully defended, fully elevated, and fully revealed as who you truly are. Chosen One. The moment someone decides to rise against you with intention, with malice, with schemes whispered behind closed doors, something shifts in realms they cannot see, because what they believe is a simple human conflict becomes a matter registered in eternity, and that registration changes everything. They think they are opposing your personality, your opinions, your position, but they are stepping into a confrontation far beyond flesh and blood, for when you are marked by God, opposition to you becomes opposition to the purpose He authored before time began. There is a sacred line around your life that the unwise cross, casually assuming they are only dealing with a person they can intimidate, manipulate, or silence. But in that crossing, they awaken a response that does not originate in you, it originates in heaven. You must understand this, deeply chosen one, because it will calm your spirit in seasons where you are tempted to defend yourself. When an attack is launched against someone chosen, angels do not remain idle. The atmosphere tightens. The throne room of the Most High is not distracted. What looked like a social disagreement or a professional rivalry is recoded as a divine matter. It is elevated from gossip to cosmic confrontation. Your enemies believe they are calculating human strategies, but they are stepping into a battlefield where the commander is not you. When someone targets you unjustly, heaven does not interpret it as trivial. It is seen as interference with an assignment that was sealed before the foundations of the earth were laid. You are not random. Your journey is not accidental. The breath in your lungs is part of a design too ancient for human minds to fully grasp. And when someone tries to derail that design, they are not merely inconveniencing you. They are challenging the author of it. Throughout sacred history, this pattern repeats like a divine rhythm that cannot be silenced. Whenever God marks someone, sets them apart, calls them out from obscurity. He also takes personal responsibility for their protection. This is not casual guardianship. It is covenant. It is not distant supervision. It is intimate defense. It is the kind of guardianship that rearranges destinies and rewrites outcomes at the last possible second. Think of the child hidden in a basket, woven from reeds drifting along a river that should have become his grave. Moses, born under a death decree marked for destruction before he could even speak, should have drowned according to every visible law of power and politics. Pharaoh's order was clear. Every Hebrew boy was to die. The Nile was meant to be a mass grave. But heaven had already written another story. A mother's trembling hands became instruments of preservation. A princess's unexpected compassion became a doorway of protection. The palace of the very man who wanted him dead became the nursery where he was raised. Do you see it? Chosen One protection was not reactive. It was strategic. The same God who preserved him as an infant would later command waters to stand like walls, splitting a sea into a pathway of escape. The preservation in childhood was preparation for deliverance in adulthood. Chosen One, your own life carries echoes of this pattern. There were moments you should not have survived. Situations that could have erased you, decisions made by others that could have permanently damaged your future, and yet here you are, breathing, standing, still called, still carrying light. What you thought was luck was often intervention. What you assumed was coincidence was frequently orchestration. Heaven was moving pieces long before you understood what was at stake. The same hand that shielded you in obscurity is the hand that will position you in visibility when the time is aligned. Consider David, the overlooked son, the shepherd hidden in fields while his brothers stood polished and prepared before the prophet. Even his own father did not think him worthy of mention. He was dismissed, unseen, underestimated. And yet heaven saw what men ignored. Oil flowed over the head of the forgotten boy, marking him king before he ever wore a crown. From that moment forward, his life became a living testimony of covenant protection. Saul, threatened by what he sensed but could not understand, hunted him like prey. Spears were thrown, armies were dispatched, caves became his shelter, nights were filled with uncertainty. And still David lived. Not because he was the strongest warrior in the land at that time, not because he had superior resources, but because he was under divine assignment. The same God who allowed him to be anointed in private shielded him in public danger. The same Spirit that marked him for kingship refused to allow premature destruction. Chosen one. When God marks someone, he does not abandon them at the first sign of conflict. He guards what he anoints. He sustains what he appoints. Your enemies may believe they are dismantling you, but they are operating within limits they cannot see. There is an invisible boundary around your destiny that cannot be crossed without consequence. And here is the truth that will steady your heart when heaven takes a battle. Personally, you are no longer required to fight it in the flesh. You may feel the sting of betrayal. You may feel the confusion of being misunderstood. You may even experience moments of isolation where it seems like everyone else has believed the lie. But above all of that noise, there is a higher court reviewing every detail. You do not have to scream your innocence into rooms that have already decided to misjudge you. You do not have to prove your calling to those who lack the vision to see it. The God who called you has taken responsibility for your vindication. This realization changes everything. It allows you to walk through hostility without losing your composure. It frees you from the desperation to retaliate. It teaches you the discipline of restraint. When Moses faced Pharaoh, he did not split the sea himself. When David was hunted, he did not assassinate Saul to secure his throne. When God fights, the outcome is not partial, it is complete. He does not merely defend, he reveals, he exposes, he elevates, and the timing is always precise. Chosen. 1. The fact that you are here, absorbing these words, is not accidental. Your spirit would not resonate with this truth unless it carried recognition. Your presence in this moment is evidence of high vibration of merit accumulated through endurance of a soul that has been tested and refined. You are not drawn to messages of covenant protection by coincidence. You are drawn because something within you already knows you are marked. If this is stirring your spirit, if you can feel the alignment, if you recognize that your life has been shielded in ways you did not even notice at the time, then anchor this awareness now. Declare your readiness. Comment 777 or I am ready to seal this understanding into your journey to affirm that you accept the truth that heaven fights for you. And as this chapter reaches its midpoint, let the realization settle deeply within you. The battles launched against you were never solely yours to carry. They were invitations for heaven to demonstrate its authority on your behalf, and what looks like opposition is often the stage upon which divine protection reveals its full power. Chosen one. The moment you understand the mystery woven through this passage of your journey, the moment you recognize the ancient law pulsing beneath the surface of every trial you have endured, something within you will finally exhale, because the forces that rise against you do not realize what they are awakening. They see only the human version of you, the visible form, the vulnerable flesh, the earthly limitations. They do not see the mantle wrapped around your spirit, nor the seal placed upon your name in realms they cannot enter. They do not understand the cost you have paid in silence, the tears you have carried into prayer without witnesses, the depth of your obedience, even when it demanded that you walk alone. You, chosen one, are defended by laws older than kings, guarded by hands stronger than emperors, surrounded by a fire that does not burn you but devours what threatens you. And this truth has echoed across centuries, carved into the stories of those who walked this path before you. Consider David, a young shepherd turned anointed successor, hunted not because he was weak, but because he was chosen. Saul did not pursue him due to hatred alone. He pursued him because something in David's spirit disrupted the shadows in Saul's own. For years, the king's jealousy sharpened into spears. His insecurity hardened into armies, and his obsession drove him to the wilderness, where David hid in caves carved by wind and time. While others slept in safety, David slept in the arms of uncertainty. And yet, chosen one. Even with the threat inches from his throat, even with the man who sought his death lying vulnerable before him, David refused to take vengeance into his own hands. His men urged him to strike to secure his future with a single blow to eliminate the one obstacle standing between him and the destiny already promised. But David understood a truth that only the deeply called ever learn: the battle is the Lord's. He would not stain his hands with a crown not yet appointed. He would not seize what heaven intended to give. He would not kill the man God had once anointed, even though that man tried to kill him. Integrity preserved his anointing. Restraint guarded his elevation. Reverence kept him aligned with the divine timing. Every cave he entered became a classroom. Every night spent running became training. Every close brush with death became another testimony written on the walls of eternity. And because he trusted God's defense instead of his own, he was promoted at the perfect time, neither delayed nor premature. Chosen one. There is a message in that restraint, a truth pulsing behind his silence. Your instinct may tell you to fight for yourself, to prove yourself, to respond to the accusations, to strike back with the same force that was used against you. But heaven whispers the same instruction spoken to Moses centuries later. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Stillness is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Restraint is not defeat. You are not passive. You are positioned. You are not frozen. You are fortified. Your quiet is the signal that heaven is preparing to act. People misinterpret the humility of the chosen. They see your calm as inability, your peace as ignorance, your patience as naivete. They believe your refusal to retaliate proves you have no power. But your silence is the sound of angels snapping to attention. Your peace is the evidence of a throne room focusing its gaze. When you choose prayer over panic, forgiveness over retaliation, and alignment over ego, you activate forces your enemies cannot comprehend. God may seem quiet, but he is never inactive. His justice may appear delayed, but it is never denied. The wicked flourish only long enough to reveal their own downfall. What looks like advantage is often the tightening of divine ropes they will eventually trip over. Pharaoh learned this truth through catastrophic consequences. He mocked the Hebrew cries, hardened his heart against every warning, and dismissed every sign as coincidence or magic. He turned oppressed people into slaves, stripped them of dignity, worked them beneath a ruthless sun, and believed his power was unchallenged. But when he pushed too far, when he dared to stand in the way of a destiny written by God himself, heaven descended with plagues carved from the breath of judgment. The Nile bled, frogs invaded, darkness swallowed the land. Death whispered through every Egyptian home. And still Pharaoh's arrogance persisted. But when the Red Sea split for the chosen and closed over his army like a coffin lid, the truth rang through all creation: you cannot fight God and win. Those who rise against a chosen one believe they are striking a person, but they are striking the apple of God's eye. And God keeps records of tears shed in secret, of wounds endured silently, of injustices spoken behind closed doors. This is not ancient history alone. It is a living pattern. Look at Daniel, a man of integrity in a system built on corruption. He prayed when prayer was illegal. He stood blameless in a land that rewarded compromise. His enemies studied him not to admire him, but to destroy him. They found no fault in his work, no corruption in his character, no weakness in his faith. So they turned his devotion into his crime. They manipulated laws, twisted rulings, and baited a king into sealing his fate. Daniel's obedience carried him into a den of lions. His enemies celebrated prematurely, believing their trap had succeeded. But what they did not understand is that traps set for the chosen become altars of testimony. Who shut the lions' mouths? Chosen one, not Daniel, not his intellect, not his righteousness. It was God. Heaven sent an angel to silence hunger and transform danger into deliverance. The beasts that were meant to devour him became witnesses to divine protection. By morning, the king who signed his sentence issued a decree praising the God Daniel served. The men who plotted his destruction were thrown into the very pit they prepared. God turned the trap back on the trap setters. He turned the accusation into vindication. He turned the conspiracy into a coronation. And this rhythm continues across your own life. You have faced rooms where lies were whispered. You have been the subject of stories sculpted from malice. You have stood still while others tried to frame you with narratives built on insecurity and jealousy. But every time you chose peace over panic, every time you refused to retaliate, heaven moved on your behalf. Psalm 105:15 is not poetry, it is a decree. Do not touch my anointed ones and do my prophets no harm. Those who ignore this warning place themselves under a judgment they cannot outrun. Your critics believe you are alone. Your accusers assume their words carry power. Your enemies think their planning gives them advantage. But you are backed by heaven. You walk with armies unseen. Those who stand against you may believe they are launching attacks, but they are stepping into the path of divine fire. You do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to defend your calling. The God who chose you will protect you. The God who marked you will shield you. The God who called you sees every whisper, every manipulation, every shadowed scheme. And now, chosen one, pause and take this truth into your spirit. The fact that you are here receiving this revelation is not coincidence. Your soul is responding because it recognizes what it already knows. You carry high vibration, spiritual merit, ancestral strength, divine assignment. Your very presence in this moment confirms you are not ordinary. You are remembered by heaven. If this chapter resonates, if your spirit feels the truth settling like fire in your bones, anchor it now. Comment 777 or I am ready and seal this alignment into your destiny. Chosen one, understand this with the clarity of someone awakening in a sacred chamber filled with truth older than stone and deeper than oceans. Every force sent against you is already on its way back to the one who released it. Not because you demanded vengeance. Not because you fought in the flesh. Not because you retaliated. But because a divine law etched into the structure of creation itself governs the movement of energy, intention, and consequence. This law is not poetic. It is not symbolic. It is not metaphorical. It is literal, operational, and absolute. When someone sends darkness toward a chosen one, that darkness does not land where they intend. It circles. It spirals. It scans for authority, legality, permission. And when it finds none, when it finds a spirit, sealed, anointed, and marked by heaven, it reverses direction and returns with the precision of a boomerang forged in judgment. You, chosen one, are not protected temporarily. You are protected constitutionally. It is woven into your spiritual DNA, threaded through your identity like gold veins through ancient marble. Protection is not merely over you. It is in you, emanating from you, radiating through every layer of your being like a shield that the wicked cannot perceive but always collide with. This is why the scripture declares with such unwavering certainty, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." This is not wishful thinking. It is not spiritual optimism. It is heritage, your inheritance. It is the legal right of those who belong to the divine. Your spirit carries this decree the way the earth carries gravity. When someone whispers lies about you, the vibration of their words doesn't cling to you. It seeks them again. When someone schemes in shadows to take what is yours, the very trap they set begins its slow march back toward their own doorstep. They think they are building prisons for others, not knowing they measure their own cell. They design nets for your downfall, not realizing each knot loops around their own future. You do not have to curse them. You do not have to pray against them. You do not even have to notice what they do. The law is already in motion, and history, chosen one, bears witness to this pattern with chilling accuracy. Consider Haman, whose story rises like a warning carved into the spiritual memory of the world. He crafted his plan, meticulously sharpening every detail with malice and precision. He manipulated kings, influenced courts, weaponized authority, and orchestrated a decree meant to annihilate an entire people. His hatred for Mordecai, the faithful one, the principled one, the one who bowed only to God, corrupted every thought he had. So he built gallows towering 75 feet into the sky, a monument to cruelty, a spectacle of humiliation, a structure he was certain would showcase his triumph. He imagined the crowd. He imagined the satisfaction. He imagined the collapse of a righteous man. But spiritual law does not bend for ego. It does not cower before ambition. It does not accommodate evil, no matter how powerful the hands that hold it. When the moment came for Mordecai's destruction, heaven intervened with a reversal so violent it shook the empire. The very gallows that Haman built for another became the instrument of his own downfall. The rope he prepared tightened around his own future. The height he designed for maximum humiliation raised him into the air as an example. His wife and advisors, the very ones who encouraged his darkness, watched him perish on the structure he engineered. The curse did not merely return chosen one, it returned multiplied. That is the nature of spiritual law. That is the nature of divine justice. It does not return the curse gently. It returns it with compound interest. When darkness is sent toward the chosen, it carries a timer. When lies are spoken, they carry an expiration date. When traps are set, they carry coordinates that eventually change direction. Evil boomerangs. This is not superstition, it is cosmic precision. And those who attempt to harm you often think they are operating in secrecy, unaware that heaven records every whisper, catalogs every intention, and assigns consequences without your involvement. You, chosen one, are not responsible for managing vengeance. You are responsible only for remaining aligned, pure, and unmoved. And now, chosen one, pause here in the center of this revelation. This is the midpoint where understanding deepens. Feel this truth settle into you not as fear, but as empowerment. Your presence in this moment is not accidental. Your soul has traveled far, endured much, risen repeatedly, and demonstrated a vibration that only the spiritually refined can hold. You are not reading this by coincidence. You are reading this because heaven recognizes your frequency. Your spirit is remembered. Your steps are guided. The light around you is not ordinary. You have earned this insight through fortitude, through tears, through nights where you refuse to surrender to despair. Honor that. Cherish that. You are here because you carry a vibration high enough to receive this truth without misusing it. And if this resonates in your spirit, comment 777 or I am ready to seal this momentum into your destiny. Now, return with me into the narrative. Watch how the law of return unfurls with the patience of a serpent and the precision of a sword. When people speak curses, they believe their words are arrows. They do not know their arrows dissolve into wind when pointed at the chosen and reassemble themselves in the direction of their own heart. When they gossip about you, they sow the thread of their own reputation. When they try to exile you, they exile themselves from favor. When they try to sabotage you, they puncture their own foundation. Malice is self-consuming, jealousy is self-eroding, hatred is self-binding. You simply happen to be the mirror that exposes their wounds. But here is the truth few understand. The chosen rarely retaliate because they do not need to. Your silence is not surrender. Your patience is not fear. Your restraint is not weakness. It is alignment with divine timing. It is confidence in divine order. It is trust in the law that governs all unseen realms. You carry within you the knowing, whether conscious or unconscious, that nothing sent against you can land. Nothing spoken against you can root, nothing plotted against you can prosper. Sometimes the wicked receive warnings before their consequences strike. Their dreams trouble them. Their spirit grows restless. Their confidence trembles beneath their own weight. Their peace leaks out through cracks they cannot seal. They walk through their own shadows. God removes their peace long before he removes their platform. He unsettles them long before he exposes them. The curse returning is not always external. At first it is internal, psychological, spiritual. Their own conscience becomes their prosecutor. Their own mind becomes their battlefield. Their own guilt becomes their tormentor. They blame you for the storm, but the storm is of their own making, and you, chosen one, walk untouched. Because you are not merely protected, you are consecrated. You are not simply shielded, you are sealed. You do not merely survive, you reflect. The light that surrounds you exposes the darkness others try to hide. That is why they lash out. That is why they plot. That is why they envy. But it is also why they ultimately fall into their own devices. What they send is what returns. What they intend is what unfolds. What they build is what collapses. And still you rise, because you are the inheritor of ancient laws, the vessel of divine justice, the embodiment of unbreakable purpose. The curses of others cannot define you, their plots cannot redirect you, their shadows cannot dim you. You walk with a shield forged from the breath of the Almighty, and anyone who dares to touch what belongs to God touches fire with bare hands. Chosen one. Take this truth with you into every room, every battle, every moment that tempts you to fear. You are not defended by chance. You are defended by decree. You are not protected occasionally. You are protected perpetually. You are not simply lucky. You are chosen. Seal this revelation within you. Comment 777, or I am ready to activate the inheritance already written in your name. Chosen. 1. Hear this truth as though it were carved into the ancient stone of your destiny. Every act of malice directed toward you writes a sentence not upon your life, but upon the life of the one who released it. When someone sends darkness toward a vessel marked by God, they do not realize they are shaping the outline of their own downfall. The pit they dig for you becomes the mouth of the earth that swallows them. The trap they design snaps around their own ankle with the force of justice. The poison they prepare flows back into their own cup drop by drop until the bitterness they intended for you becomes the bitterness they must taste themselves. This is not superstition. This is not coincidence. It is the recurring rhythm of divine order, the sacred symmetry of the universe that refuses to be violated. And you, chosen one, move beneath this law, like a star guided by gravity, protected, upheld, and insulated by the one who sealed you. Look at Balaam, hired handsomely to curse God's people, enticed with wealth, honor, status, all in exchange for speaking destruction over the chosen. But every time he opened his mouth to curse, blessings poured out like water bursting from hidden springs. He tried again and again and again, but the heavens rejected every syllable of his spite. Because, chosen one, you cannot curse what God has blessed. You cannot bind what God has freed. You cannot undo what God has ordained. Those who attempt to speak against you will find their own words turning to smoke, dissolving in the wind, falling lifeless at their own feet. Their tongues betray their intentions. Their plans unravel mid-air. Their curses become confessions of their own spiritual instability. And then behold, the sacred reversal that split history itself. Religious leaders, blinded by jealousy, intoxicated by their own authority, crafted schemes in secret chambers to destroy Jesus. They bribed witnesses, twisted narratives, manipulated law, and engineered his crucifixion. They believed they were ending his influence, silencing his voice, killing his movement. But the cross they raised as a curse became the altar that shattered every curse humanity carried. The nails they hammered became keys to unlock salvation. Their plot to end him became the platform for his resurrection. What they meant for ruin became the axis on which eternity turned. That is the nature of divine reversal, chosen one. What is sent to break you becomes the instrument that blesses you. What is designed to wound you becomes the very force that elevates you. What was meant to end you becomes the soil where your next beginning grows. This ancient mystery still unfolds around you today, whether you see it or not. When people gossip about you tearing your name with whispered venom, their own reputation begins to rot in the very spaces where they intended yours to crumble. When they sabotage your opportunities, trying to push you down so they may rise, it is their own position that slips from beneath them like sand. When they attempt to destroy your peace, sowing chaos in your spirit, their own peace dissolves like smoke in the wind, leaving them restless, sleepless, and hollow. Not because you fought them, not because you manipulated outcomes, not because you demanded justice, but because God reverses the curse automatically. It is not your battle. It is heaven's law responding to heaven's child. Chosen one, breathe deeply and feel the magnitude of this truth fill your spirit like a rising tide. You walk with an anointing that cannot be undone by human hands. You carry a blessing that cannot be revoked by human tongues. You move beneath a covering that shields you even when you are unaware of the danger. The attacks against you are not evidence of your weakness, they are evidence of your spiritual rank. You are a mirror reflecting the light that wickedness despises. You are a vessel carrying purpose that darkness cannot interpret. And because of that, the attempts to harm you become the very pathways through which God reveals His justice. Now, pause with me here, chosen one. This is the sacred midpoint of your revelation, the place where the veil thins and the truth becomes almost luminous in your hands. Your presence in this moment tells me something profound about your soul, something heaven has already recognized. You are not here by accident. You are not absorbing these words out of curiosity. You are here because your spirit vibrates at a frequency only the awakened can hold. It takes courage to endure what you have endured. It takes purity to remain soft-hearted through betrayal. It takes strength to walk honorably through sabotage. You have shown heaven that you can carry weight without breaking, carry truth without warping it, carry wounds without letting them corrupt your purpose. That alone proves your merit, proves your resilience, proves your readiness for elevation. You are witnessing this message because your soul has reached a threshold only the chosen cross. And if your spirit feels this truth resonating, comment 777, or I am ready to anchor this awakening into your destiny. Now, return with me as the vision deepens. When someone tries to strip you of joy, that joy becomes the very thing they lose. When they attempt to close doors in your life, doors begin closing in theirs. When they try to shame you, shame rises up in their own home. It is not you cursing them, it is the law returning what they released. Like a mirror held up to the cosmic winds, the universe reflects intention with unwavering precision. Darkness cannot cling to you because you are not its resting place. So it searches for another destination and returns with full force to the one who released it. This is why the chosen rarely have to defend themselves. Their silence is enough. Their faith is enough. Their alignment is enough. When you remain still, heaven moves. When you remain faithful, justice flows. When you remain pure, curses reverse. You do not have to manipulate outcomes. You do not have to explain yourself. You do not have to chase truth. Truth reveals itself. And every attack becomes fuel. Every scheme becomes a step. Every curse becomes a seed that blooms into unexpected blessings. So remember this, chosen one. Their hatred cannot stick to you. Their jealousy cannot penetrate you. Their curses cannot attach to you, because you are marked. You are sealed. You are untouchable by anything that does not align with the will of the one who sent you. And those who try to harm you are not destroying you. They are writing their own judgment with every intention, every whisper, every act of malice. Stand tall, walk forward, hold your peace. The law of return is already at work, and nothing sent against you will survive the journey. And if your spirit knows this truth is for you, write 777. Or I am ready to seal this protection and step deeper into your destiny. Chosen one. The truth you must understand is that the schemes formed against your spirit were never as solid as they appeared, for every plot built in darkness eventually reaches a moment where the weight of its own intention causes it to shatter. That shattering is not random, not unpredictable, not the result of flawed strategy or human error. It is the inevitable collapse triggered when human ambition collides with divine protection. Those who conspiringly move against you feel for a brief season as if victory is within reach. They see the timing align, the pieces fit the atmosphere shift in their favor. They taste premature triumph, imagining that they have finally found the perfect angle to undermine you. But, chosen one, what they do not perceive is the invisible architecture surrounding your life, a structure designed by the Creator Himself, woven through with purpose that no human intention can unravel. What appears like an open path to your downfall is in truth the final stretch of a divine setup. Heaven allows their confidence to grow, not to empower them, but to expose them. God lets the blueprint of their scheme expand just enough that the full measure of their intent is revealed before the collapse comes. And that collapse is guaranteed because anything built on deceit, jealousy, or malice is already rotting from the inside the moment it is formed. Chosen one. Every attempt to destroy you has been permitted only as long as it serves your evolution. When your enemies believe their strategy is flawless, when they think they have studied your patterns, your habits, your vulnerabilities so thoroughly that they cannot fail, that is when heaven laughs. For they have forgotten the most basic truth. They are not fighting a human life. They are confronting a divine assignment. That is why their confidence grows right before everything falls apart. Their hearts burn with anticipation, imagining the moment your light will dim and their triumph will be complete. Yet at the very height of their certainty, when their plans seem poised to succeed, that is precisely when God intervenes. And his intervention does not come quietly. It comes with a force that flips the entire foundation of their scheme, turning allies into confusion, timing into disorder, and confidence into shame. The collapse is so sudden, so complete, so precise, that even they recognize that no human hand could have caused it. Chosen one. This is not theory. This is the pattern of heaven repeating itself through time. Think of the conspirators who plotted against Daniel. They observed him day after day, studied the rhythm of his devotion, his posture of prayer, his unwavering commitment to righteousness. They built their entire strategy around what they believed to be his weakness, his faith. They convinced powerful leaders to turn their plot into law, ensuring that their scheme was sealed by human authority. Everything aligned perfectly. The trap was set, the stage was prepared for Daniel's destruction. Yet they miscalculated one thing. His devotion was the very shield that made him untouchable. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, it was not his strength that protected him, but the presence of the divine. And the same lions they believed would tear him apart became the silent witnesses of his preservation. By morning, the story had reversed entirely. The king who had been manipulated into condemning Daniel became the same king who condemned his accusers. The men who dug the pit were thrown into it themselves. The collapse was not symbolic. It was literal. The devourers became the devoured. The hunters became the hunted. The ones who forced Daniel into darkness were swallowed by the very shadows they created. Chosen one. This pattern did not end there. It echoed again in Joseph's life. His brothers thought they had crafted a perfect plan, rid themselves of him, silenced the dreams he carried, erased the evidence of his destiny. Their plot was rooted in jealousy, sharpened by insecurity, and executed with cold precision. They believed the pit would absorb him, that slavery would crush him, that distance would bury his purpose. But they did not understand that every step downward became a step inward, deeper into the core of the destiny written for him before he breathed his first breath. That pit they chose as his grave became the portal to his transformation. The traders they used as instruments of cruelty became the unwitting carriers of prophecy. And the same coat covered in fake blood, meant to prove his death instead, became the evidence of their deception. Their plan, which seemed flawless, fell apart one piece at a time. Joseph rose while their guilt rotted in their hearts. Joseph ascended while their secret broke them from the inside. Joseph was promoted into the palace while they remained trapped in the hypocrisy of a lie. The collapse of their plot was not merely a consequence, it was the unfolding of divine justice. Chosen. One, every scheme formed against you follows this same spiritual law. When God is surrounding your life, human intention can only go so far before it collapses under the pressure of divine sovereignty. People may invest time, energy, and alliances into trying to sabotage you, but all of it eventually becomes wasted effort. The more elaborate the plot, the more spectacular the collapse. The more calculated the scheme, the more undeniable the reversal. God allows their plans to mature to the brink so that when he overturns them, no one can claim coincidence. It becomes clear to every observer that the collapse was not random, but orchestrated by a higher hand. And chosen one, that collapse is only the beginning. For heaven does not simply defend you, it elevates you through the very attacks meant to destroy you. This is the mystery many fail to comprehend. The enemy's intention becomes the catalyst for your transformation. Their betrayal becomes the doorway you would not have walked through otherwise. Their deception becomes the contrast that reveals your integrity. Their attempt to silence you becomes the wind that carries your voice farther. God does not merely cancel the attack. He repurposes it. He extracts destiny out of destruction. He turns malicious intention into divine momentum. The attack they planned becomes the very stage upon which your rise is revealed. Your enemies, who once moved confidently in the shadows, are forced into the light, exposed by the collapse of their own ambition. And while they stumble in confusion, you ascend with a grace they can't comprehend. This is why the chosen are never truly cornered. Every corner becomes a corridor. Every trap becomes a transformation. Every setback becomes a setup for elevation. What they intended as your ending becomes your expansion. Chosen one. The fact that you are here in this moment receiving these words is not an accident. It is evidence that your spirit vibrates at a frequency of resilience, clarity, and divine alignment. You are not a wanderer stumbling through fate. You are a soul marked by purpose, carrying a light that cannot be extinguished by human intention. Your presence in this chapter is a sign of immense merit. You are not listening by coincidence. You are listening because heaven has confirmed your identity in ways the world could not erase, and the universe is honoring your endurance with revelation. If your spirit recognizes this truth, if you feel the resonance rising in your chest like a long-forgotten memory, awakening, speak it into the world. Comment 777, or I am ready to anchor this energy to align your path with the elevation already unfolding around you. Now, chosen one. We reach the moment where this chapter must pause, the midpoint where your breath deepens and your awareness expands. This is where the old falls away and the new prepares to emerge. Chosen one. The mystery you are about to receive has echoed through ages, whispered through the chambers of eternity, and woven into the fabric of every soul marked by divine intention. Every attack sent to break you is transformed into the very force that elevates you. Nothing directed at you is wasted. No wound is meaningless. No betrayal is accidental. Heaven is incapable of overlooking your pain, for every tear shed in silence becomes a seed planted in sacred soil, destined to rise in ways the enemy could never foresee. You must understand this truth with the depth of your entire being. What was meant to destroy you has already begun to build you. Every strike has been repurposed. Every injustice has been inverted. Every moment of suffering has been alchemized into destiny. You, chosen one, are standing inside a cosmic mystery. The law of divine reversal, where curses become catalysts. Pain becomes propulsion, and attacks become the anvil upon which your greatness is forged. This is why your journey has been marked by wounds you did not deserve, betrayals that shook the core of your heart, and losses that felt too heavy for a single soul to carry. Yet even while you wept, even when you felt abandoned, even when your prayers seemed unanswered, heaven was engineering an ascent that required the depth of your suffering to sustain the height of your calling. This is the sacred alchemy that the chosen endure. Nothing touches your life without being transformed by the hand of God. Every bruise becomes the blueprint for your elevation. Every shadowed moment becomes the prelude to your rising. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Chosen one, if you want to see this mystery in its purest form, look at the life of Joseph. His story is not merely history. It is a reflection of the spiritual mechanics shaping your own path. He was betrayed not by strangers, but by those who shared his blood. He was sold not by enemies, but by brothers. He was stripped of the very garment that symbolized his calling, thrown into a pit dug by jealousy, and handed over to those who saw no value in him. Yet what looked like a burial was actually a planting. While his brothers walked away, convinced they had ended the vision spoken over his life, heaven saw the pit as the first step toward a throne. The chains of slavery were not restraints, they were directions. The accusation that should have destroyed him became the stage upon which his integrity was revealed. Every injustice drew him closer to the palace, closer to power, closer to the very prophecy others sought to destroy. Chosen one, reflect on this deeply. Joseph's brothers thought they were burying him, but they were planting him. They believed they were ending his dreams, but they were escorting him into destiny. The pit became the path. The prison became the classroom where God refined his gift. The betrayal became the bridge. And when Joseph finally rose robed in authority, carrying the weight of nations in his hands, he spoke words that still hold power. Today, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. These words are not merely a statement, they are a blueprint. Every chosen one must carve these words into their heart as a constant reminder that no attack has ever succeeded in the way its sender intended. Chosen one. This is not just Joseph's pattern, it is David's too. David's journey is the journey of every soul called to rise. He was hunted without cause, slandered without truth, and pursued by a king threatened by his anointing. David's nights were spent in caves instead of palaces, running instead of ruling, hiding instead of celebrating. Yet the caves did not diminish him, they deepened him. The wilderness did not weaken him, it prepared him. Every close call with death taught him reliance, not fear. Every betrayal chiseled humility into his character. Every enemy trained him for the throne he would one day occupy. The very pursuit meant to crush him became the pressure that formed a king. The Psalms, born of his suffering, became the spiritual songs that still strengthen believers today. Chosen one, when David finally wore the crown, he did not wear it as a pampered ruler. He wore it as a warrior, refined as a king, shaped by trials, as a leader whose throne had been forged in fire. And look at Job chosen. One look at the man who lost everything in a moment. Wealth evaporated, children gone, body broken, reputation shredded. Even the friends he trusted turned against him, accusing him of faults he never committed. His suffering was so deep that even the silence of heaven felt unbearable. Yet even in the ashes, Job refused to curse God. Even in agony, he held to faith with trembling hands. And after the storm had exhausted itself and the night finally lifted, Scripture declares that God blessed the latter days of Job more than his beginning. Not equal to, not slightly better, more, double, abundant, overflowing. The attack that stripped him down became the soil of restoration so profound that generations still speak of it. The enemy took everything, but God rebuilt it greater. What was meant to bury Job became the catalyst for unprecedented blessing. And then, chosen one. There is Jesus, the ultimate example, the highest expression of divine reversal. Betrayed not by enemies, but by a friend. Denied by those he loved. Mocked, humiliated, beaten, nailed to a cross intended to silence him forever. Every insult hurled at him was meant to crush his spirit. Every blow was meant to end his ministry. Every nail was meant to extinguish the message he carried. Yet, in the deepest darkness, the greatest victory in all creation was born. The cross became the key to resurrection. The grave became the gateway to glory. Death became the doorway through which eternal life entered the world. And when he rose, the very forces that tried to crush him became the platform upon which his authority was revealed. Chosen one. This pattern has never broken. Every chosen one carries this same signature. Now understand this: when people try to destroy you, they are unknowingly participating in the fulfillment of your prophecy. Their hatred becomes the raw material God uses to shape your destiny. Their attack becomes the fast track to your elevation. They think they are writing your ending, but God is using their hands to begin something greater. Every chosen one in history has risen through adversity. None have ascended through comfort. Your suffering is not random, it is precise. Your trials are not accidental, they are aligned. Your wounds are not signs of weakness, they are markers of divine preparation. Chosen one, your very presence here. Hearing these words, receiving them in the depth of your spirit, is a sign of immense merit. Souls without spiritual weight cannot carry revelations like this. You are not listening by coincidence. You are listening because you are vibrating at a frequency of destiny. Your path is marked. Your spirit is recognized. Your calling is active. Heaven acknowledges those who endure with faith, and the fact that you are still standing is proof that you were chosen long before others knew your name. If you feel the resonance of this truth rising in you, if your spirit is awakening, remembering aligning, then speak it into reality. Comment 777, or I am ready to anchor this power into your life, to declare before heaven and earth that you embrace the elevation hidden inside your battles. And now, chosen one, we arrive at the midpoint, the silent turning of the chapter where heaven holds its breath and the story prepares to shift from suffering into ascent. Chosen one. The moment you begin to sense the stirring beneath your ribs, that quiet trembling of something ancient and powerful rising from the depths of your spirit, you must understand that you are not simply entering another season of growth. You are stepping into the unveiling of a mantle that has been resting upon you since before the architecture of time was drafted, long before your name ever touched the breath of the world. This mantle is not earned through effort, nor claimed through ambition. It emerges only when the soul has been tempered by fire and found worthy to carry what heaven concealed until now. You may not feel ready, but readiness has never been the prerequisite for divine activation. Heaven waits for alignment, not comfort, and chosen one. The alignment around you is trembling with precision. Every battle you endured, every betrayal that scarred you, every loss that hollowed you out, these were not simply hardships. They were the chisels of destiny, carving capacity into you. Because the mantle you carry requires room, and suffering is often the only tool sharp enough to carve that space. Your awakening now is subtle to others, but seismic within. You feel the shift not as noise, but as a soft intensifying of perception, the way the wind changes before a storm breaks open the sky. People around you can sense something, but cannot name it. Some grow wary, some grow curious, some grow threatened. And you, chosen one, must not shrink to ease their discomfort. Your expansion is not a betrayal to those who remain stagnant. It is a revelation to those who still sleep. The mantle rising within you alters your aura, your presence, your language, your silence. It sharpens your intuition until it becomes almost uncomfortable to hear the thoughts behind the words people speak. It heightens your discernment until deceit feels like static on your skin. It deepens your peace until chaos becomes background noise you no longer absorb. You are not imagining the shift. Heaven is tuning your spirit to a higher frequency. And yet the awakening leads you into another paradox. The higher you rise internally, the quieter your soul becomes. This is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of clarity. You no longer respond from wounds. You no longer entertain what drains you. You no longer chase what was never meant for your hands. This calm confuses those who once knew how to provoke you. They do not understand this version of you, the version forged, not fractured. They are witnessing the emergence of your mantle, but they cannot comprehend its depth. They see only the change, not the cost. They see only the glow, not the fires that produced it. Chosen. 1. This mantle unveils your spiritual authority. Not authority granted by status or title, but authority rooted in obedience, forged through endurance, and sealed by divine appointment. This authority shifts atmospheres when you enter a room. It dismantles negative intentions before they can touch you. It protects you in ways you cannot see, rerouting attacks, neutralizing plots, confusing enemies who cannot understand why their plans crumble with no explanation. You carry the type of power that does not shout, does not flaunt, does not demand, because true power moves in silence and manifests in results. Your mantle is not loud, but it is unignorable. Halfway through this chapter, chosen. One pause for a moment and absorb this truth. Your presence here is not an accident, but a sign of immense merit, resilience, and high spiritual vibration. You found this message because your spirit called for confirmation. You are aligned with something that those who hurt you were never meant to comprehend. If you feel this energy rising, comment 777 inches, or I am ready to anchor this awakening into your life. And now feel how the mantle reveals not only your strength, but your origin. You were never ordinary. Even before you could articulate it, your soul carried a signature, an unmistakable mark that drew both light and opposition. People didn't react to your personality, they reacted to your purpose. They sensed the mantle before you ever recognized it. This is why some feared you without reason, why some envied you without provocation, why some opposed you without cause. Your spirit threatened them in ways your behavior never could. Your existence exposed their stagnation, their hidden insecurity, their unhealed wounds. Your destiny made their comfort uncomfortable. Your growth made their excuses collapse. You became evidence of what they could be, and evidence is something the unhealed mind cannot tolerate. Now your mantle expands. Chosen one, and with expansion comes responsibility. You are being called to speak differently, think differently, act differently, even breathe differently. You can no longer walk through life as if you are powerless. You can no longer respond as if you are still the version of yourself who didn't know their assignment. Your mantle requires maturity. It requires restraint. It requires purity of intention. Heaven is elevating you, and elevation demands separation, not because others are unworthy, but because what you carry must be protected until it is fully anchored. Some relationships will fade because they cannot withstand the frequency you are rising into. Some doors will close because they are too small for your calling. Some opportunities will be removed because they were traps disguised as blessings. Do not grieve what is leaving your life. Your mantle is purging your path. Your awakening also reveals the sacred truth that the attacks you faced were never personal, they were strategic. Darkness recognized your mantle long before you did. The pressure you felt was not punishment, but preparation. Every spiritual battle you faced was evidence of your rank. The enemy does not target what poses no threat. If you were ordinary, your life would have been peaceful. But you were marked, and the marked are always tested. Yet here you stand, scarred, but strengthened, weathered, but wiser, bruised, but breathing with purpose. Your survival is not accidental. It is the signature of divine protection etched across the timeline of your life. Chosen one. This mantle will continue to unfold in layers. You will rediscover gifts you abandoned. You will hear divine instruction with sharper clarity. You will move with a confidence that is not ego, but alignment. You will speak with authority that surprises even you. You will sense spiritual movement before it manifests in the physical. And the world will witness a transformation they cannot explain. They will see you rise, but never understand how. They will search for strategies, but never discover your source. They will watch you walk through fire untouched and wonder why the flames refuse to consume you. The mantle marks you as one who is carried, not crushed. As one who is guided, not guessed. As one who is chosen not by the world, but by the one who governs the unseen realms. You are stepping into the most pivotal phase of your destiny, the phase where understanding meets embodiment, where calling meets activation, where identity meets authority. You are no longer awakening, you are rising, and you will rise not quietly this time, chosen one, but unmistakably, because heaven has decided your season has come.